Hi, I'm Ephraim Elliott, and you've just been placed on alert. Welcome to the Elliott Alert. My guest today is Mr. Stuart D Soffer. He has a host of different titles here in Jefferson County. Mr. Soffer, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a grandfather. That's my proudest accomplishment.
That's right.
I'm a retired Army officer, came up through the enlisted ranks, did 20 more years civil service, doing the same thing as I did in the service, and then did 10 years volunteer for the Coast Guard. I've been your election commissioner since 2003. I'm the Republican designee on the State Election Commission, and I'm vice president of the Arkansas County Election Commissions Association. And in my spare time...
Right. Now, you forgot to mention that you're a husband, and you've been married for how long?
With or without benefit of clergy.
Right.
Probably about, I think she's tolerated me 35, 36 years.
And that's an outstanding accomplishment. I spoke to your wife, and she is most definitely your better half.
Well, I know I married above myself, as most of us have.
As most of us
Yes.
have. Yes, sir. Now, I want to talk to you about, we'll start off by talking to you about, there was a racial conference that was here maybe a couple weeks ago, and you were asked to attend it, and you declined. Can you tell us kind of what happened with that?
Well, I didn't decline. I accepted initially.
Okay.
And then I found out what it really was about, and I backed out. It was misrepresented to me. The invitation was two ways. One, it was implied it was the university hosting it, and I would do anything I can to support this university. In fact, I have, as far as voter registration goes, last year. And then the individual representing it used her name of the day. She represented herself as being Ms. Blunt rather than Blunt Mohammed. And had I known, I would have ran the other way.
Well, I mean, does it make a difference how she represents?
Yeah, she is known in the community. Let's see, the Southern tradition is, I'm supposed to say, bless her heart first. She's known by a lot in the community, and my experience is that she's not really, I'm trying to be kind here, a stable person. Her writings, her utterances, and everything else, I think the nicest thing I could say about her is she's a racist.
I would have to say that I don't share those views. I think each person has their own personality in reference to it. I think she may have see things differently because of who and her experiences is, but I don't want to say anybody's a racist.
Well, no, I would, I make that allegation. You've known me a long time.
Yes.
This is the woman that put in the Pine Bluff commercial that I was racist of the year. You know, I'm just not going to deal with people like that. But anyway, the call came in on a cell phone. I was at the Capitol to testify. You've been there. You know how hectic it is when you're trying to talk on the phone. She mentioned her name. I knew Levert Blunt, deceased now, was a good friend. And in fact, his widow, Evelyn, remains a friend. And I asked her if she was kinfolk to him, and she indicated something. But again, had she represented herself as who she was, and more importantly, I think, didn't misrepresent the forum as being under the sponsorship of the university, then I would have reacted differently initially.
Okay. Now, during the forum, because I moderated it, we had several white and black people there, and it was very structured and organized, and very cordial. So even though, I'll say, even though from your standpoint it may be not, I guess, how should I say? She may not have told you what you wanted to know. I still saw a lot of white people who came and participated, and was very cordial and very intelligent conversation.
that's their option. I received several phone calls from friends of mine in the black community telling me, number one, what it was about, and number two, that it was an ambush. And then if you stop and look at the white participants, you had the mayor.
Yes.
You had the police chief.
Yes.
Okay, I am the only white election commissioner. I'm not chairman. I'm not the top person right now, I will be shortly again, of the county election commission.
But you were chairman before, though.
I was chairman for a brief period until we had a controversy, and we'll let the Attorney General resolve that one.
Right.
And the lawyers, but my point is, I was invited because I was white, not because of the position I hold. If you wanted someone to represent the Election Commission and talk about the future and the vision, you would invite the chairperson. So it was a setup. People I know and trust told me it was a setup. I thought about it. I tried to contact the pastor. It was Wednesday night, and of course you don't contact the pastor on a Wednesday night. And I prayed on it, and I made the decision. And I stand by my decision. I think it was a good one.
Okay. But I do have to tell you, as I moderated it, it was a good and decent forum. I think all of the different people were there, not only because of their skin color, because I think that those people were community leaders and the people wanted to hear from them. And you know, there's not a secret that we have white people in different positions of power, and we have black people in different positions of power. So, and I think for us to move together as a whole, we need to know what each one of us is thinking and how to bring us together. And even in reference to the forum, it was more so dealing or trying to deal with the economics in our community as a whole than it was really with black and white, though.
Well, you know, I read the newspaper accounts, and you had to shut them down a couple times, according.
I did.
Yeah.
I did, because that's how I feel in reference to it. I think from our standpoint, we all have to get together to make the community move forward. And we're going to go on break, but when we come back, we'll talk. I'll give you an opportunity to talk a little bit more about that. We'll be right back.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
When life's this hard, graduating can be even harder. But you can help the students in your community make it through by visiting boostup.org.
Welcome back to the Elliott Alert. My guest today is Mr. Stu Soffer, our Jefferson County extraordinaire. He has a multitude of positions, and my friend, the Republican, as well, who's a good guy. Now, Mr. Soffer, when we left, we were kind of talking about the racial conference and some of the pluses and the minuses. Let me ask you, do you think Jefferson County has a racial problem?
Well, yeah. I think there's vestiges of racial problems throughout the country, predominantly in the South. Now, you got to remember, I grew up in New York City.
Right.
And on the 6th of September 1958, when we arrived at the San Antonio, Texas train station, there were signs over the water fountain that said coloreds. And those of us from New York had to look around and find out what that meant. Right. So, you know, and then I spent the next 40 years all over the world. But just based on being here since 1996, there's an underlying racial climate on both sides, on the white side and the black side. It's getting better, but you know, as long as you have those who practice the theory of victimization, and they want to keep digging up the past, trying to belabor it rather than to encourage young people to excel and be all that you can be type of stuff, You know, my people were in slavery for over 400 years. You don't hear us moaning about it like it was yesterday.
Okay. When you say
millions
your
of my
people,
I'm of the Jewish faith.
Right. Okay. All right.
Okay, I've come out of the closet, so now I'm going to start getting the phone calls. Gosh. But my point is, you know, we had the Holocaust. And yes, you hear about it once in a while and things like that. But my point is, I am so proud of the voters of Pine Bluff, predominantly black, who elected the best qualified person for the job of mayor, regardless of gender and regardless of her skin color. And if that didn't send a message to the folks that are practicing the theory of victimization, they're never going to get it.
Okay. So now, is it, when you say a practice of victimization, is it both ways? Do you have white people who practice victimization?
Theory of victimization?
Right.
Well, I think the white people don't like blacks, and they're ignorant. You know, I don't like some blacks, I don't like some whites, I don't think of any Hispanics at the time I dislike. I mean, we all have our personal prejudices. But to dislike someone because of the color of their skin as opposed to what they do to you is wrong, and I don't care if you're white or black.
Right. And, you know, I know that's the kind of person you are, because we've, at the Capitol, stood side by side and had issues with a bill, and we talked about it, and we got slammed.
And we got beat up together.
We got beat up together. And it wasn't a black or white issue, it was just an issue that we wanted to go on, to address.
But do you notice how my voice raises and I get passionate when I'm talking about something that I really am sincere about? You know, I can get all fired up about this nonsense. There's so many things wrong with our county. There's so many things wrong with the city of Pine Bluff. I drove in here on Myrtle Street and I just see dilapidated houses in ruins sitting there. And here people are worrying about residency requirements as opposed to the needs of the people. And then we got other people saying, oh, because they're black, this should not have happened to them. That's nonsense. It needs to stop.
So, I mean, are we talking about a black-white issue, or are we just talking about an economic issue?
Well, it's an economic issue that everybody is trying to work together to resolve, but you have a limited few making it a black-white issue. And I think that they're picking on the mayor. They're trying to make it a black-white issue, and I think to their credit, the majority of the black community is not letting them. So again, you know, it's the same few that I think that they feel that their little rice bowl is being threatened. You know, it's their little, what's the word? Throne power? I don't know, but they just, in my opinion, they're concentrating on a color issue when they should be concentrating on bettering the living conditions in the city.
Okay. Now, I'm sure you're aware that, you know, 8 years ago, we elected our first African-American mayor. Before then, we had a majority white council, or a majority white mayor for so long. Do you think that the community itself is pulling on the things that happened back then, and the reason why they're saying, look, it's a black and white issue because we just elected our first black mayor, even though we have a white mayor now? The black mayor didn't have an opportunity to do the things that he did.
He had 8 years of opportunity. I mean, you know, I'll go off on the president the same way. He had 4 years of opportunity. It's our fault for putting up the candidates we put up. I can't speak to the past. I arrived here in 1996. Representative Booker Clemens is a friend, and he and I talk about his childhood. And I can't imagine what it would be like for someone my age that was black growing up in this area. It just must have been atrocious. And I'm not going to try and justify it.
Right.
Other than I'm going to mention that my people came to this country in the early 1900s. So, for what it's worth. But the point is, this is 2013. And I think we need to live in 2013 and not 1941.
Okay. So, but do you think because of some of the things and people not having the opportunity and still may not have the same opportunities is some of the reason why people are living or pulling from the back. Like, do you think people have the opportunities? Well, let me put it to you like, is there a level playing field?
No, I don't think it's a level playing field. I think the playing field is tilted in the favor of the black person seeking advancement. And I feel kind of strongly about that. In fact, you and I talked, and my father was born on what I believe to be the African continent, Jerusalem. And maybe maybe that's why I didn't get all the jobs I applied for. I could technically be an African American descent.
Well, I tell you, before you go into that, we're going to have to go on break, and when we come back, I want you to finish the story. We'll be right back.
Are you getting this, honey?
Oh, prime time. We are rolling.
All right, Mama's gonna bring it home. Mama's gonna bring it home. Okay.
Come on, watch this guy.
Oh, backwards.
Oh, don't. Oh.
It went into Bob and Carol's yard. Oh, no?
Yeah.
Here it comes.
Oh, Mom!
Challenge your kids to be active and eat healthy.
All right, let's see what you can do. Let's go.
They might surprise you. Search We Can for more ideas on how you and your kids can get healthy together.
For those dealing with the daily struggles of caring for a loved one, we hear you. That's why AARP created a community with experts and other caregivers to help us better care for ourselves and the ones we love.
Hey, you going out like that?
Yeah, why?
Well, what would the neighbors think?
I see you! Come look at Mr. Feather. Look what I have. Mr. Bird, remember? Bark, bark, bark. We're just playing. We're just playing on trying to get you out of here.
Even still.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Take my hand and start a brand new day. And together as one we'll
Underneath everything we are, underneath everything we do, we are all people. Connected, interdependent, united. And when we reach out a hand to one, we can influence the condition of all. That's what it means to live united.
Welcome back to the Elliott Alert. My guest today is Mr. Soffer, and he was just giving us a little background on from where he grew up and where his parents grew up. So now I'm gonna let you finish telling the story, Mr. Soffer.
Which story?
You were saying something about the African American continent.
Oh no, my father was born in Jerusalem. And you had asked, was the playing field level? And there were preferences given to minorities for a long, long time. And you earned what you have based on your own attributes, as far as I know.
Right.
I think when I first met you, you were police chief or something across the river.
Police chief and all-timer, yes, sir.
I have a lot of black friends who have gone very, very high based on their education and their motivation and their work ethic. But now we have folks that are like that, hand out, palm up, stretch, because they are black or Hispanic or something.
What about the white people? I mean, are there whites that got their hands out like black?
I'm sure that they do, but they're not, I don't think, and I'm not going to talk definitively because I don't know for a fact, they're not basing it on the fact that they have an entitlement because they're white. They're basing it to the fact that they have an entitlement for whatever the reason, which I may or may not agree with. But you asked, was the playing field level? You have minority set-asides.
Okay.
You have minority hiring preferences.
Okay.
Okay. Why are they necessary?
Well, I think they're necessary because I think as African American, we have in this state less than maybe 11 or 12% in this state. And then if you look at the prison system, we're the majority in the prison system, as well as if you look at the colleges and how the scope of Arkansas is, I think that there should be some form of support, a help to help African American. And then you also said from out of your mouth that the level field is not it's not leveled. The playing field isn't leveled. So if a certain race, or if the playing field is not level, why not help people give the opportunity?
Well,
I mean, is something wrong with giving people an opportunity to?
I don't think someone less qualified than me should be selected for an opportunity based on their color. That's what I'm saying.
You should have.
If both people are equal, then maybe. But I don't believe in quotas. I want everybody to have the same opportunity.
But does everybody have the same opportunity?
Obviously not.
Right.
And again, in this particular college, it's been my observation in past years they would favor minorities over majorities for certain things. In other places, they would favor majorities over minorities. I mean, the pendulum swings both ways. It's not a perfect world, but I don't believe in considering people for things based on anything other than qualifications.
So let's say we just do what you say, just consider people specifically on qualifications. If the playing field is not leveled, then the majority will have the majority of the things, and we won't have an opportunity to.
Well, you know, in my truck, I carried my race card for a long, long time. The race card is a picture of Obama and Carl Reedus.
Oh.
And I pull the race card out of my truck every time somebody starts bemoaning me about how the blacks are being held back in our country. And I've done that. I did that over in Birmingham one day. But my point is, it's not a perfect world. But you know, as long as people like you and I are speaking up for equality, and then as long as you got people like the Jack Forsters of this world saying to elect someone based on the color of their skin as opposed to their attributes, which 76% of the voters of Pine Bluff saw through, and you had an unheralded election win with almost 50% on the first ballot, you know, the Jack Forsters of this world and the way they're trying to achieve equality is not right. I have no objection with the way you're trying to achieve it. I think it's safe to say I'm trying to achieve it. I want things done based on qualifications, not color.
Right, and I have to let you know, I think our president and the mayor were greatly qualified to do their job. People elected Debbie Hollingsworth because they thought that she, and probably still think that she's qualified to do her job.
Well, hold it a second. You say the mayor was qualified to do his job, but his resume was a mystery. He said, I work for a Fortune 500 company. You know, what was his qualifications? We still don't know what his qualifications were.
Well, I mean, the same can be said about our mayor now. I mean,
oh, she has a pretty strong business background. I looked at all the backgrounds of the candidates.
In reference to even having a business, that doesn't mean that she's qualified to run the city. And I'm not saying anything negative about our Mayor Hollingsworth. I'm saying
her education,
it's like 6 and 1/2 a dozen the other. The point is that the people saw trust in both people to lead the community, and if the people say, then it should be.
The majority vote rules.
Right, the majority vote rules.
Actually, I think it's normally the golden rule.
Right.
Them that got the gold rules.
So to me, it's not a difference of white or black. It's what the people want. They looked at Debbie Hollingsworth and said, you know what, we want to move her forward, even being white and 85%.
You know what I think the people said? I think they said they wanted change, they want Pine Bluff to move forward, and they want another form of leadership. I think the police chief and her lack of popularity had a lot to do with it. And I'm sure there's a lot of things that folks outside the community, and more specifically outside the black community, are not aware of. I live in Whitehall. I don't have a clue what goes on in Pine Bluff other than what friends tell me.
Okay. Well, and I have to say, you know, whatever decisions that the mayor makes are the mayor's decision. Whatever decisions that our former mayor, Carl Reedus, made, those are his decisions. I personally don't think that it's a black and white issue. I think it's a right issue. So,
but we all agree we want to see progress.
Yes.
I don't want to go backwards. I want to go forwards.
I agree. I agree.
Forwards, forward.
Forward.
I look at the audience.
Right.
And yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you again, Mr. Soffer, for coming on.
So I don't get to tell any of my bad jokes?
Not yet, but I want to let you know you have just been placed on alert.
I could live with it.